Hi, my name is Solomon. You're welcome to this channel, Tech with Solo. So we're going to start a new course on structured query language, which is SQL. So I'm going to do it in a very simple and well explained manner. You understand? So we are going to do kickstart from database and do everything about SQL. I want to take it to the advanced level, from beginner level to advanced level. So it's going to be several series, but this video is an introductory class just to explain the concept of database and then the concept of structured query language. I'm making it short as possible so that you'll be able to watch them bit by bit, and then divide your time to be able to for you to be able to capture all the courses in progressionally. Okay, so let us look at it now. So first of all, SQL is a database language, SQL. So I'm going to take time to explain some concept about database. Database is very important anywhere, any country, any government, any business. Every activity done should be well documented in a database. So what is a database? That is the question right now. So a database is an organized collections of structured information or data, typically stored electronically in a computer system. So now we have paperworks and so many things, but we are trying to bring all paperworks into the cyberspace. Of course, there is a situation of cyber crime, cyber security issue comes in, but besides, it's more faster, it's more better, and it's more effective to retrieve and to do a lot of manipulation when it comes to being stored electronically in this computer system. So it is designed to efficiently manage, store, and retrieve data according to a specific requirement. So you can retrieve data based on a specific requirement. So if you have massive amount of data set, you can retrieve a certain section out of it based on the requirement that is being defined. So databases are fundamental to modern information system and are used in various applications, from managing customers' information in businesses to storing scientific data in research institutions. I don't want to talk much about this because you know how important database is. It helps us to keep track of events, and everything that is being done is recorded in database. Your social media charts, your social media interactions and activities, everything is recorded in database. Your banks, informations, your identities, everything is managed in the database. So database is very paramount, it's very important in any institution, whether business institution, any institution. You understand? So let us proceed. So we're going to look at key characteristics, the key characteristics of database. We're going to look at the key characteristics of database. Now, when we say key characteristics, we want to look at certain features, what a database should be or should look like before we say, okay, this is the database. What is its feature? What is its characteristics? The first one is structured. A database is structured. You understand? So when you gather those information data set from different, it may not be organized, but when you are putting them into the database just make sure that it's structured. You understand? That means it consists of rows and column. Another word for rows is record. Another word for column is field. So take note of that. Number two, management. So a database is subject to be managed. Of course, we call it database management system, DBMS. The full meaning of DBMS, database management system. Sometimes you can hear about RDBMS, relational database management system. So we are all talking about the same thing, but I will explain more when it comes to relational. So now a database is subject to be managed. That means you can update, you can create, you can query, and you can you can conduct administration on it. We have what is called CRUD, create, read, update, and delete. So these operations can be done on database. In other words, that is management. Okay, we are trying to manage it and make sure you you can retrieve, or you can insert something into the database. The number three is users can querying. A database should be able to be queried. So if you need a particular section on the database, you can retrieve it out. So that is query. Of course, it's still part of management to an extent. So number four is scalable. So a database can be scaled. That means it can allow massive. You can scale it. That means you can enlarge the amount of record coming in, the amount of inputs or data that you are entering in. It's subject to being able to accommodate those volumes of data. You understand? That is scalability. Then number five, security is very, very key. Security, the future of database is for security. It has a lot of it has some level of constraint, a level of, so it's called authentication. You understand? Because a database consists of sensitive information. My people's identities are there in the database. So a database, you can't just access it. You should be being able to be allowed to go through the stages of authentication. Authentication means they want to check if you are the person that you say you are, so that they can allow you to have a passage. Then when you have a passage, what should you have access to within that place you have entered? It's called authorization. So authentication and authorization is one of the key features of security system. So if you're in cybersecurity, you always, is a very popular term, authentication and authorization. Okay, so now we have types of database. We have relational database, no SQL database. Those things are very popular these days. Then we have in-memory database. We have new SQL database, a time series database. So many of them, but I'm not going to explain all those ones. I want to focus on the relational database, which is RDBMS, which SQL falls under. So this is the first one. Okay, we already have no SQL like MongoDB, Firebase, and those ones are no SQL. That means they are not structured. They don't follow structured pattern, but in a way they have some level of structure, but they allow for some data that are not that don't follow a specific rules or pattern. So it's flexible. That's what NoSQL is all about. Okay, so that is it. We have so many of them, but let's focus on the number one, which SQL falls into. So now I want to just explain these key terms that you will always see. I've talked about SQL. The full meaning of SQL is structured query language. It's a language that is used to manage database. That is, you use it to conduct operations on database. There are some operations you conduct in database, like you create information into the database. You read, that means you retrieve information. When you are reading something, you are taking in something, so you are retrieving an information. Maybe I want to retrieve only my name. When I put my PIN number, it will give me all the information about myself. So you are reading something else, you are retrieving out. In SQL, we call it, you are selecting out. If you are creating, that means you are inserting something to the database. Then the other one is updates. You are updating means a record that is existing, you edit it, you try to change what is there. Maybe some things have changed. Possibly, let's say your address location has changed, you are back to another place, you want to edit it. Or you, let's say in social media now, or your LinkedIn for instance, your profile is now changed. I mean, you have higher qualification you want to add, so you are editing or you are updating your record. So the other one is delete. So SQL allow you to be able to do. SQL is a general language. I will talk about database management system later. So SQL is a language for managing database, structured query language. That's full meaning. So the next one is table. So a database management system consists of table. Usually consists of table. Yeah, a table is it's an entity, or we can say a table is consists of rows and column. You understand? Rows and column makes up a table. So a table, as you can impute, you already understand when you say tabular form, you arrange something tabular form. That means there's rows and columns that makes up a table. So you can arrange something there, you can arrange your data there. Okay, then we have what is called schema. So when we say schema, we're talking about is what describes or defines the structure of a database. The definitions of the structure, how your database looks like I can say, okay, this particular column should contain string, this one should contain numbers, this one should, when I say string, I'm talking about alphabetical characters or text. Okay, so defining those structure, how it looks like, what you should accept, what you should not accept. Maybe this one accept only date value. So those definition of structure is called schema. You will use it in conjunction with table or with database. When we say database is just like a warehouse. Inside it there are shelves. Let's say shelves for keeping something. So your warehouse is like your database, while those shelves are your table. So there can be 5 tables inside a database. There can be 2, there can be 15, there can be 20. Some database may consist of, let's say in the country now, a database may consist of employment alone, employ graduate or employ youth, like that. So another database may contain people that are elderly, that are old or retired. So there are different tables that represent different information, but those information could be related. Those tables may be related. You understand? One table could be related to the other table. A student in class 2 may be offering a course in another place, like that. So they can be relationship. That's why we call it relational database management system, RDBMS. Then number 4 is primary key. We have what's called primary key. So primary key is a unique identifier of each record in a table. For instance, that record, that rows, when I say rows, let's number 1, number 2, number 3. Number 3 may stand for Solomon, his age, his country of residence. So that number 2 represents Solomon. But if I say Solo, that name Solo cannot be used to uniquely identify me, because another person might be bearing the same name. Another person, if I want to use age, another person may be bearing age. So I want to use the serial number, because no two persons may be in the same table, could be number 2 at the same time. So we use, so the particular element you are using, whether it's serial number you want to use to define the uniqueness of a record or an entity or a row, is called primary key. So the primary key is a unique identifier, because everybody has to be uniquely identified. Something that will be able to represent you different from the other one is called primary key. It's a unique identifier. That is primary key. The foreign key is just a primary key that is listed in another table, because I said a table may be related to another table, but what you use to represent this particular table, let's say the serial number is its primary key, but when you want to represent another table, the primary key is now your foreign key, although the primary key will still reflect in the other table, but it's no longer primary key, it's a foreign key. Okay, so that is it. Let's quickly look at a common relational database management system. Now we have those softwares that can help you to store your database, do all your operations. One of the software is MySQL. It's popularly used in the web. We use it to build our web application, the backend of a web application. We also have PostgreSQL. We have Oracle database, Microsoft SQL Server, which is owned by Microsoft. Oracle database, of course, is owned by Oracle Corporation, the company. So SQLite is a lightweight database. We have MariaDB. We also have Microsoft Access. I think I have some of them here too. Okay, yeah. So you have others like Cbase, Informix, Progress, SQL, like that. So we have MS Access. MS Access is a lightweight database, but we'll focus on MySQL. So all of them you are seeing, to do query, to do retrieval, administration, management, you use the language SQL. So the language SQL is what you speak or use to instruct these software system. This software system are called database management system. So these softwares are the one that stores those information. But if you want to retrieve or you want to store, use SQL language or SQL command to execute any operations you want to execute. Is that clear now? So SQL is a language used to execute query or in those database management system or those softwares. So I want you to take note of that. So what can SQL do? You can use it to execute query against a database. You can retrieve data from a database. You can insert record like that. I've talked about CRUD. CRUD is an acronym: create, read, update, and delete. You can do those operations. Not only those operations. You can also do operation of search. You want to search for anybody that starts with S or anybody that starts with B, you can search for all those stuff. So I will explain them in subsequent video. So I'm going to stop here right now. This is just an introductory class. Next class we'll go into the installation of Workbench, MySQL Workbench. We're going to zero in on MySQL, explain SQL Workbench, how to install, what they stand for. Then we'll go to executions. Okay, so thank you very much for staying tuned to this class. I look forward to seeing you in the next class.